Here we usually say, you may not be Jewish, but you live like a Jew. For example, you're more thrifty.
How many Jews are left in Birobidzhan?
2,000, right? 2,000 Jews.
2,000.
What's the problem?
There's conflict over there in Israel.
And there always will be. Here we live quietly in peace.
Good morning from Birobidzhan, the capital of the Jewish Autonomous Oblast in the Amur region. Here in the Amur area, by the Amur River, in the Russian Far East. Although today there are hardly any Jews left, it's estimated to be around 1%, this place is full of history. I have a few hours before I continue my journey on the Trans-Siberian to Moscow, and I want to learn a bit more about this autonomous oblast and its people. Let's go. From the late 18th century until 1917, most of the Jews in the Russian Empire lived in the so-called Pale of Settlement. This area was located on the western border of the empire, in what is now the territory of Lithuania, Belarus, Ukraine, Poland, Moldova, and Russia. And the main reason for its creation was to try to contain the spread of the newly incorporated Jewish populations throughout the rest of the empire, and thus allow the flourishing of a Russian middle class. An average of 5 million Jews lived there, about 40% of the total world Jewish population at that time. Mainly concentrated in rural communities called shtetl, although merchants, craftsmen, soldiers and Jews with higher education were allowed to live outside the Pale of Settlement. As the years went by, the area underwent changes in its boundaries and laws. And, after the assassination of Tsar Alexander II in 1881, pogroms and pressure on the Jewish community increased. Amid accusations of involvement in the assassination, after years of tensions, the rift between the Jewish community and the Tsars deepened following the publication in 1903 of the book titled The Protocols of the Elders of Zion. It details a Judeo-Masonic conspiracy whose goal was to direct communist movements and the structures of Freemasonry, to infiltrate the institutions of all countries and establish a world government. Globally regarded as an anti-Semitic work, the Tsars used it to justify persecutions and pogroms against the Jewish community. By the Bolshevik Revolution, the rise of Nazism, and the Soviet Union's formation, many Jews had already fled elsewhere. And the idea of settling in Palestine, which was controlled by the British, began to gain strength in Zionist circles. However, just as many had stayed behind. The Bolsheviks inherited the problem of the Jewish question, and after abolishing the Pale of Settlement, Stalin proposed a solution aligned with communist ideology. At the same time, it provided them with a home. Thus, in 1928, Birobidzhan was chosen, a swampy and almost uninhabited region in the Far East.
Ruso, a más de 8,000 kilómetros de Moscú.
Officially established in 1934, it was called the Red Zion and was presented as a direct alternative to Zionism, which Soviet leaders described as Western imperialism. Initially, Stalin's proposal was well received, and it is estimated that between 30,000 and 40,000 Jews moved to this territory. Even left-wing Jewish organizations sent funds and heavy machinery for its development, seeing it as a safe haven in the face of the rise of Nazism in Europe. The first thing that stands out, of course, is the menorah or the candelabrum that is there in the train station square. And also the signs that can be seen in Hebrew and Yiddish. I think that Hebrew wasn't taught as much here, at least in the times when the oblast was founded. Yiddish was more common. But anyway, you can see the characters that are different from Cyrillic at the bus stops and also on some shop or street signs. Birobidzhan is a very small city, and in general, this oblast is also very small. According to the latest censuses, only about 160,000 people live in the entire region. And here in the capital, I think there were around 50 or 60,000. You can see that there aren't many cafes on the streets, there aren't many shops, and even some building facades on the main streets are in pretty bad shape. Which tells us that yes, we're in a small place without much economic development, especially if you compare it with other large regions in the area. In Russia, you can also find buildings from the Soviet Stalinist era. Look, like this one here, Stalinist architecture that still keeps the stars. On the capitals of the columns, well, what look like columns, some fake columns. Now there are practically no Jews left, but what you do see are Chinese people. You see a lot of Chinese people around here. Like in this whole area that's on the border between Russia and China, right? Let's remember that the border is right next to us. You can see everything from Chinese restaurants to businesses like grocery stores or dollar stores. And the classic lions that you used to see in Beijing here as well. And now, after this brief morning walk through the streets of Birobidzhan, we've arrived at the synagogue. Let's see what we find.
Now we do it like this. Nice, record it.
Вот так надо, да?
Красиво. Снимайте. This is called a kippah
Kippa, yes.
or yermolka.
Yarmulka,
Yes, we Jews have. How many languages do the Spanish have?
one, yes.
And how many languages do Jews have?
How many?
Two.
Twee?
Two.
Two. Yiddish.
Hebrew, the ancient sacred language spoken in Israel and in which we pray. And Yiddish, the mother tongue, the language of European Jews, the Ashkenazim.
Ashkenazim.
We are Ashkenazim, European Jews. Therefore, when people enter the synagogue, what do? They put on the kippah. And what do they do next? They kiss the mezuzah.
Do they kiss the mezuzah?
I've come in.
Вот.
And what does that mean?
It's the mezuzah.
Mezuzah?
And what is the mezuzah? It's a case, a little box. And inside the case there's a parchment, and on it there's a welcoming prayer. Do you want things to go well in your home?
Yes.
That your head doesn't hurt and that your stomach doesn't hurt.
Yes. All right. Can we do it?
Of course.
Thank you.
And there is one in every room. Now I'm here. Before coming in,
They're everywhere.
yeah. It's okay, you can pay here with cash or card.
Card.
Сюда. Tin.
Like this, right?
Yes. Yes. Now the green button. Now we are in the prayer room.
And what do the Jews do here?
Pray. And pay attention to the fact that there are no icons, no crosses, no images of any kind here. Why? Why do Catholics have them?
Yes, in Catholicism it is allowed.
You shall not make idols.
Uh-huh.
The rabbi has arrived. Come over to the Spanish brothers.
My wife studies Spanish.
Really? Nice to meet you.
At the end of September and the beginning of October, we Jews celebrate the New Year.
У евреев наступает Новый год.
He blew the shofar and prayed, God, hear us, we are people. God, listen to us, we are people, we are on earth, we want to live, write us in the book of life. God hears this crying sound as if a child were crying and has mercy on us.
All right.
And he will give us life. Therefore, we Jews, unlike you, are optimistic.
Don't they speak Yiddish anymore?
What do you mean we don't speak? We speak it. It's our mother tongue, I mean. Here in Russia, on a daily basis, we speak Yiddish. We switch between Yiddish and Russian, a vinaigrette.
A vinaigrette? That's a salad.
And in a salad, everything is mixed together.
I understand. How many Jews are left in Birobidzhan and in the Jewish Oblast? 2,000? 2,000? 2,000 Jews?
2,000.
Do you all know each other?
No. Frame knows like about 400 personally.
He has shaken their hand. I know, for example, in the next city, Khabarovsk, there are about
5,000 Jews, but because the city is much bigger, it's harder to know them one by one.
Where are you from? Aren't you Russian?
from Khabarovsk.
Равчаночка.
And your husband?
From Kharkov.
Ah, her husband is from Kharkov.
Ukrainian Jews.
Ukrainian Jews.
Everyone here is from Ukraine.
Yes, they're all Ukrainian.
What do you think about this nose? Is it a Jewish nose or not?
Of course.
Yes.
I have a feeling that your great-grandmother...
Could be, right? Sephardic.
And him too, he's Jewish through and through.
Поцеловать.
In 1927.
Да?
Brooke found this tiny, tiny piece of land, 36,200 square kilometers. Do the Jews want their own land? Well, let them go to the Far East. Who were they? The young people, girls, boys, communist youth, apolitical ones?
And the Karaitis too, right?
Yes, and Ashkenazis. Only Ashkenazis, European Jews, Maghrebi Jews, there were never any Sephardic Jews.
Yes.
And the young people were accompanied by their parents and elders as well. In this room, we keep some antiques. For example, this here, what is it?
Это что?
To write.
A typewriter, what kind? A Jewish one? Look at the keyboard.
Ну посмотри на клавиатуру.
I see, yes. Produced in the US?
Of course, of course.
Of course, in Moscow.
Москва?
Конечно.
Especially made for Birobidzhan. And this one here?
Ой, а вот это что за аппарат?
For listening to music, I don't know what it's called in Russian.
Gramophone, which one?
Jewish.
Yes, and why is that? Because Moscow's April factory made vinyl records specifically for Birobidzhan.
Биробиджан, только для Биробиджана.
In Yiddish, our mother tongue, music, songs, dances.
Музыка, песни, танцы.
And this here is 150 years old.
150 years?
Yes, some experts analyzed it. Look, it's skin, touch it from a kosher animal.
Животного, кошерно.
Did they bring it from Germany, Ukraine?
Yes, from Ukraine, when they demolished the oldest houses. They found amazing things. It must have belonged to some old man who prayed at home. And when he died, his children didn't want to throw it away. These are sacred things.
Вещи. Вот, пожалуйста. Обратите внимание, гости.
What is this?
These are documents.
Was it Stalin who gave the order, or?
Yes, in the year 1927, Stalin said, if 1 million of the 5 million Jews in the USSR settle here, we will create a Jewish republic in the Far East.
And how many settled?
Fewer settled, that's why only an autonomous region was created.
Do they remember Stalin with gratitude for that?
There are mixed feelings, because under Stalin in the 50s, we were accused of Zionism, of nationalism, we were arrested. Look, interrogation protocols.
Interrogation protocols. Under Stalin, when they...
Yes, year 1949, after the war.
In the next interrogation? What kind of questions were asked?
All kinds.
What do you do for a living?
What do you do for a living? Why did you write this? Why did you say this? Why this? Why that? And they were sent for a long time to labor camps, prison. So with Stalin, our relationship was a mixed one. He gave us the oblast, which we appreciate, but then...
Спасибо. Но то, что не всегда...
Things didn't always go well with the Russians either, nor with the Ukrainians, right?
There's no leader that everyone likes. There are always nuances.
Yes, that's something you have to know and understand. Let's continue.
Дальше.
Идем дальше.
Заходим. Что надо...
What do you think about the future? Will there be more Jews coming here?
I answer this question like this. I often go to Israel. I meet with my friends and comrades who moved away and left this city behind. Everyone cries remembering Birobidzhan, and they have words of great affection for it. But they are already 70, 75 years old. Their children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren grew up there. How can we leave them and go back to Birobidzhan?
I understand.
They already live there. Although there have been cases of people returning, we have people who came back from Israel. God bless them.
Why? Was it bad? Was it expensive?
Before, when they went to Israel, they used to say, there's meat, sausages, you stick the spoon in the smetana and it stands upright. Nowadays, we don't have any problem getting food. What's the problem?
Well, there are constant conflicts.
And there always will be. Here we live quietly, peacefully, and well. Here in Birobidzhan, there is no confrontation between Muslims, Christians, and Jews. Here is the synagogue. 20 meters away, a Christian church, the cathedral. I know the priest personally, and we are in contact. Sometimes we even have a shot of tea together. The mullah, right next door.
Do you have a mosque here?
We're all right next to each other, and the people the same. Whatever their ethnicity, nationality, creed, or culture, we celebrate the holidays together.
Although the Jewish Autonomous Oblast initiative was initially very well received, this enthusiasm faded over the years. The newly arrived settlers encountered cold winters and summers full of mosquitoes. Meanwhile, the idea of the State of Israel was taking shape. After the Balfour Declaration in 1917, in which the British Foreign Secretary Arthur Balfour conveyed to Lord Lionel Walter Rothschild, an important Jewish leader, the approval for the establishment in Palestine of a national home for the Jewish people. Jewish immigration to Palestine began to increase. Finally, in 1948, after years of political and diplomatic efforts by Zionism, Israel proclaimed its independence. From then on, Stalin's position towards Soviet Jews hardened as he saw them as a potential threat with ties to Western Zionism. After the fall of the Soviet Union in 1991, the exodus to Israel was massive, and Birobidzhan, the Red Zion, remained as a historical vestige of what was once the alternative project to the Zionist State of Israel. This is the entrance to our wonderful hotel, and that's the room where we've stayed, with the broken windows. Take a look for a moment at where Miguel and I have been sleeping. We've shared a bed as if we were a married couple. But it's curious, the bare brick here and the bathroom without a door, which looks like a dungeon. This, with all the pipes exposed there, 1,000 rubles. Now, as is already a tradition on the channel, we're going to try the Jewish cuisine here. In Birobidzhan, of course, the restaurant looks really good. It's one of the best restaurants you can find in Birobidzhan. It's not that the selection is very big, but from what I've seen, generally speaking, it looks really good. It's high-end. This one is mine, right?
I don't know who ordered it.
I ordered the one that's like a durum.
It's a pita.
Right, Peter. Will the schnitzel take much longer?
It's being prepared.
I see. How much longer, more or less? 10 minutes?
Yes, about 10 minutes.
Yes. We're already having as a starter some hummus with some piquillo peppers, some really tasty garlic. And finally, they've brought Miguel the schnitzel we've been waiting for here, man.
This is the best schnitzel ever because it took them 20 or 25 minutes to prepare it.
I finished my hummus while he was still waiting. An interesting thing. Well, this is what I ordered just now. Murad, I think it's called. Let's see. No, Murad. Murad from Jerusalem. Chicken with vegetables, stewed pepper, onion, which is maybe more like the typical food, along with Jerusalem hummus and Miguel in honor of the Ashkenazi Jews. He ordered what he considered to be more typical there, in Eastern Europe, Central Europe. The schnitzel, a breaded chicken fillet in this case, but look, it's not breaded, it's coated in egg.
But it looks like an omelette. I'm not sure if they really brought me mine or...
Cheers, as I always say, let's try this. As you can see, it's a pita bread, and inside they've put the stew. Everything is delicious, huh? Very good, highly recommended, honestly, very tasty, with spices. And tell us, Miguel, how's your schnitzel? What score would you give it?
Well, it's like an omelette and inside there's meat, right? So...
And this? Potato, mashed potato, right?
And mashed potato. So I was expecting more something else like a steak, but we'll give it a 7.
Have you ever wondered how to write Lenin in Hebrew in Yiddish? There you have it, Lenin Street. Another thing you can find here in Birobidzhan is this monument to the border guards. It's something very typical that you find in all these border areas. At least that's what I've noticed. Before, I hadn't seen so many monuments dedicated to the border guards. And here in Khabarovsk, in Vladivostok, and of course in Birobidzhan, which is just a few kilometers from China, you also have it here, the Soviet border guard with his dog and the post that marks the border of what used to be the Soviet Union and today is Russia. The post is distinctive because it always looks the same, red and green. Miguel, tell us, what is the reason why there are so many monuments to Soviet border guards in this whole part of the Russian Far East?
A good reason could be the war that took place between China and the Soviet Union during the 1960s. Because China considers this territory, well, this territory is historic Manchuria. We tend to identify the Manchus with the Chinese, but historically they were two different peoples. The Manchus were nomads, and the Chinese were very afraid of them. They were quite violent. And this was the area that was the heart of the Manchus, the heart of Manchuria. So, was there a war in the 60s? Because China considered that several territories here in Russia, near the border, were historically theirs, and that it had a historical claim to them. And that's why there was this small war. It wasn't a war on the scale of Vietnam, but there were armed clashes on this border.
One of the curious and distinctive things about this oblast is its flag, a completely white flag except for some colored lines that resemble those of a rainbow. And now, two local girls from Birobidzhan, who saw us walking and filming, are going to interview us here. Mirad. Look, Nastia and Lisa, right? Greetings to Spain.
Hello, Spain. And how do you say it in Spanish?
Hello, Spain.
Hello, Spain.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone.
Very good. You mentioned to me earlier that even though you are not Jewish, you live in a Jewish way. Can you explain to me what this means?
We say it kind of as a joke. Here we usually say, you may not be Jewish, but you live like a Jew. For example, you're more thrifty.
Birobidzhan is a small city. How many people live there? 50,000, 60,000?
I think it's 70,000.
Yes. What do young people usually do here in their free time?
Да.
Do you go out for drinks at the bar? Do you go to Khabarovsk?
There's a bit of everything. We go to Khabarovsk and we go to bars. But we also go for a swim here. We go out into nature. On this promenade, there's a stage, and on weekends, there are events. It's called Festive Birobidzhan. There are concerts, markets. It was the summer nights of Birobidzhan, but now autumn is also ending, only next year.
Do you guys want to live here, or do you want to go to Vladivostok or Khabarovsk?
I would like to go and try.
And you?
Здесь?
And were your families Jewish, or do you have Jewish roots?
No.
Ukrainians and Russians live here mostly, right? Or are there more Russians?
By place of origin, I would say mostly Russians.
I have a second aunt who lives in Germany. She moved there with her husband. I think he has Jewish roots.
It's beautiful here. It's beautiful. What's it called? Bira. Well, from the banks of the Bira River, we end this tour of Birobidzhan, this little getaway through the Jewish oblast of Russia. As I was saying, it's spectacular. I'd stay longer in this city, it's a shame, but I'll be back. The mountains are starting to reappear after the Siberian plain. So,